person who brings us the item. These are hydrangeas, but I want to stop right there and say, these are not your mama's hydrangeas. It used to be, and my mother was big into hydrangeas in our backyard in Indiana, but it all was determined by the pH level of the soil. If the pH was a little acidic, then you'd have blue flowers. And if it was alkaline, you would have pink or red. That's not the case here. In fact, these hydrangeas will be the first ones to bloom in the spring, and they will be the last ones that say goodnight when it gets to be frost. And that person that I was talking about is Phillip Watson. Anytime Phillip brings anything to us, I just immediately know by association that it's going to be the very best of what we have to offer. So welcome in. We've had over 3,000 of these sets that have been ordered already. Phillip, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, Dan. Great to see you too. It's cold, but I tell you what, these hydrangeas are so hardy that no matter how cold it gets during the wintertime, they will always bloom because they bloom on current season's growth. And if you've had hydrangeas in your garden, and your big question, which I get on Facebook all the time, why aren't my hydrangeas blooming? It's generally because the winter was too hard and it killed all the buds. But these will bloom regardless. And as you mentioned, the first to start, the last to finish. And also the parents of this are North American native hydrangeas. So they love it here already because they're already home. And the Invincibelle Ruby will have these color flowers all during the course of the season. They are narrower than a regular hydrangea. So if you got a tight space and you think, oh, the hydrangea's eating up the sidewalk, this one won't, because it only gets 2 to 3 feet wide and it will be 3 to 4 feet tall. Nice, tidy column of color.
Also,
and
I remember, look, that's a full 1 gallon pot. That's the biggest plant that you send us this year, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is, because when I came on air, I thought, I'm not going to send out anything that you have to baby in case you're a first-time gardener or if you got other things to do. This is going to go right on, a proven winner, so you know it's going to be good.
Every year in August, if you know Indiana, you grew up in Mississippi, I'm sure it's exactly the same. Every year in August, we would get one really just dousing rainstorm, powerful rainstorm. And it would break down my mother's hydrangeas, and they'd be just flopped over into the yard. And she would cry. These are much more compact. You see how long the stems are, but those stems they're thicker than my pinky. So these are hardy, hardy flowers and bushes. And I love that they get more compact, because the hydrangea that we had was ginormous, and it was too much for the space.
And also, you know that our moms and our grandmoms' hydrangeas had those fleshy leaves, and they tended to wilt. They could not stand the drought. This is a thinner leaf, but it's got that beautiful, nice, clean look. And they do take drought, unlike the other hydrangeas. So you can expect them to hold up, even in the hottest temperatures in the deep south. They do well in the far north, and they're early, they're outstanding. I grow these in morning sun to partial shade in the afternoon. I don't grow these in the hot afternoon sun.
Okay.
But you will love these. And I planted several of these in front of my privacy screen of arborvitae, because it gives me something pretty down low rather than just, that great barrier wall up there. I want to dress it up a little bit.
I also just happen to really appreciate the bigger foliage on this. I mean, the leaves are very dramatic. And Phillip, again, anybody who is familiar with traditional hydrangea knows that the color of the flower was based upon the acidity of the soil. That has no bearing on this at all. These will always be ruby red.
That's correct. Nothing's going to change it. They will always be, and it's called Invincibelle Ruby. And if you ever heard of that hydrangea, a white one called Annabelle, this one is bred from that one. And Annabelle is a great, great achiever. It's white. So this is the ruby version of Annabelle. And I mix the two together. If I've already got Annabelles, you can add this nice, rich ruby color in there, and then it really dances for you. But speaking of dancing, because the blooms are a little bit lighter in weight, they will move around in the wind, but they don't break off because they got the strong stems. So I like a little bit of dance in the gardens. I've gotten a little bit too long in the tooth to do it myself.
No more dancing for you? All right, I want to brag on you for a minute. The fact that Phillip is with us, and Phillip has been a dear, dear friend for many, many years. His clientele is the who's who of American wealth. These are people who are used to yelling. So if anything in that garden goes bad, they yell. So Phillip brings only the very, very best. So it's almost like a life hack, because we're getting the easiest to grow plants that become the most dramatic and the most successful and the ones that earn the most bragging rights. A Phillip Watson garden purchased from us will be so much easier than buying plants from a regular garden center. His clientele would never tolerate run-of-the-mill. So it's nice to know that, Phillip, you bring extraordinary at a price that's affordable. You're getting, this is a perennial though, this is a heirloom perennial. It can be with you for decades for less than $40.
And it's guaranteed for an entire year, as are all of my perennials. But back to my client, is that they hired me and I do a good job. And I use these sorts of plants because they don't want their gardens to look like anybody else's garden. When the neighbors down the street, old-fashioned hydrangeas are not blooming or they are wilting in the sun, these are still beautiful. And it's just, that's the difference, because I'm a horticulturist and I'm a firm believer of the science behind the beauty. You've got to have a sturdy plant to support the gorgeous blooms. That's just the trick. If you're only picking out things because of the way that they look, it's not going to end well.
Now, are we still just talking about gardening?
Well,
that might be a life lesson, buddy. That's beautiful. And look how big those palms are huge. They're like the size of a grapefruit, and they're just covered in gorgeous red and pink petals. So you're getting more for less. And now listen, it's investment gardening, $33.92, but that's a fraction of what people would have to spend and do when they hire Phillip as a private contractor. So everybody wins.
You will love these again, because they've got the strong things for stems for excuse me, cut flowers. But also, if you pick up my butterfly bush earlier in the season, they're about the same size.
Okay.
Nice and compact and lots of color. So there's something else to add to your flower arrangements. So I've pretty much color coded the season. So everything I'm offering this season is going to look pretty good together, and everything is guaranteed. First of all, thank you so much for shopping with Phillip Watson Designs. It's my honor, and I'm grateful. You can reach me at the number on the screen or at the website on the screen. Also, if you have any questions at all about your order or about plants in general, that's how you can reach me. And the annuals are guaranteed for 90 days from time of shipment, perennials for an entire year. And that's these hydrangeas.
By the way, I can't guarantee this, but that 1-800 number that Phillip just put up, it is not uncommon that it's Phillip who picks up that phone line. That's how dedicated he is to making sure people are happy. Buddy, I love you. I love your passion. Love everything you do for your customers and your clientele. So glad and proud to call you a friend. Be well.
Thanks so much. My pleasure. You too.
Coming up a little bit later on,